Hello everybody and welcome back to the sofa. Y'all, we're gonna go ahead and jump right on into the video today because oh my goodness, finally there has been major movement in the Idaho 4 case. Y'all been following this, you already know, and look, information is coming out so fast. Now I'm recording this on Sunday. Even as right before I recorded this, I want to make some more notes. So there could be obsolete information, or not obsolete, but like new stuff that's come out by the time you see this. Hopefully I'm going to get this uploaded as soon as I finish recording it. Now, if you follow me, you can see I'm still on vacation in the North Carolina mountains, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful New Year so far. So what I want to do is this. I have my computer over here, so I might look over to it from time to time. I want to talk about the updates, give my opinion on it, and kind of directly address some of the questions that y'all have emailed me, like what my opinion is and thoughts and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do it through video clips of like the news conference, going over some headlines, stuff like that. I'll give my opinion throughout, and then of course at the very end of it, give my overall opinion on what I think and that type of thing. Y'all already know, if you follow me, I am not a cop, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not any of that stuff. So all these are just my opinions. That is all they are. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to dishing.
Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohlberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zana, Madison, and Kaylee.
A criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Kohlberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder, in addition to felony burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohlberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant.
Okay, so first things first, yes, finally they have somebody. Now, of course, guilty until not guilty until proven innocent, all that, we get that, right? But so far, all the information about it is looking like a really sketch, but also very Ted Bundy-ish, right? You know, he's a PhD student in criminology, all that kind of stuff. Now, let's look at a couple of different little, like a picture and a headline real quick to further go into what was just said on the video clips. Okay, so first of all, if you look at this picture, it's showing the distance between Moscow, Idaho and Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. This is like 2,500 miles. Now, it's my understanding that basically he went home for Christmas. And we're going to talk more about the Elantra, but yes, it was taken from his parents' house where he was arrested at. So again, it was like this car, they were totally on it. You know, yes, this car totally has something to do with it. And the police had been tracking him, or the FBI, like for days, they've been following him, doing all this kind of stuff. So very interesting. Now, remember what it just said about the probable cause? Let's look at this headline real quick. Now, this is from Law and Crime, and it's by Sarah Rump. It came out on New Year's Eve, 2022, obviously. It says, Idaho murder suspect agrees to waive extradition from Pennsylvania, issues statement via attorney that he's eager to be exonerated. Now, I'm just going to read a couple of quick things from this article here about what his attorney said, his statement. So first of all, remember they said the probable cause won't come out until he gets back there. I was personally thinking that he was not going to waive the thing or whatever. Like maybe he was gonna like draw this out, but the fact that he's like, nope, let's go, let's do it. Okay, great, because I am dying to read the probable cause, okay? Now I'm just going to read this statement via his lawyer. Mr. Kohlberger intends to waive his extradition hearing to expedite his transport to Idaho, said Law Bar. Mr. Kohlberger has been accused of very serious crimes, but the American justice system cloaks him in a veil of innocence. He should be presumed innocent until proven otherwise, not tried in the court of public opinion. One should not pass judgment about the facts of the case unless and until a fair trial in court, at which time all sides may be heard and inference appearances challenged. Mr. Koberger is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as promptly as possible. Now, one thing that I was personally feeling, I'll go into this more at the end, but when we found out that he was like studying chronology and was like, taking like classes from serial killer experts and like all this stuff, right? I was like, oh my God, are we going to have another one that's going to represent themselves, right? And who knows, we might end up having that. I pray we don't, if it does end up officially being him. So let's continue looking at a couple of more things.
I recognize the frustration with the lack of information that's been released. However, providing any details in this criminal investigation might have tainted the upcoming criminal prosecution or alerted the suspect of our progress.
Mr. Kohlberger, and let me preface, there's a pending case now in court, and I in my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that.
So yes, this has been a source of frustration for so many people. When something like this happens, of course, everybody wants answers. They want full transparency. I've felt this whole time that the police, the FBI, all these different agencies probably had a little bit more information. They always do, right? This is totally normal. So to find out that yes, this car was like a major source of stuff, DNA, which we'll talk about here in a minute, leading them to this guy, they didn't want to tip them off. This is what we see a lot of times, right? Like they don't want the suspect to know that they're on to them for fear of them harming themselves, destroying evidence, harming other people, all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm glad that the police and the state attorney there addressed this during the press conference that they gave.
Kohlberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University. We will provide as much information as we can about the extradition to Idaho and the criminal process. However, due to Idaho state law, we are limited in what information we can release today until Kohlberger has his initial appearance in Idaho court.
As far as Mr. Kohlberger, I can share with you that he is a graduate student at Washington State University and has an apartment residence over at Pullman. He has had an initial appearance in front of a judge in Pennsylvania. He is being held without bond, and the warrant from our magistrate judge here also provides for no bond. We understand that he's scheduled to be back in court in Pennsylvania next Tuesday afternoon, and that a public defender has been appointed for him there.
Well, thank God there's no bond, right? Now, a couple of things. Like at the time of this press conference, again, information comes out so quickly. So this morning, again, it's New Year's Day, when I saw the article from Law and Crime talking about, he plans on waiving his extradition here and all that type of stuff, like he's going to go ahead back. So that sounds like what we can anticipate to happen on Tuesday, which will speed things up, luckily, right? Now, what I want to do is this also, and I'm just kind of looking at my computer here. Let's look a little bit more into him, just some of the stuff they're talking about, where he lived, that kind of stuff. The survey that he did, a lot of you emailed me about that, asked my opinion on that. So let's talk about that kind of stuff for a minute. Now, first of all, let's look at this little map here showing the Washington State University, Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This is from Daily Mail. It shows us about 8.4 miles. So, he was right there, okay? That's what makes it so creepy. One thing I'm very curious to find out is how did he know these people? I know he followed them on Instagram, a couple of the girls. So I'm very curious, and when I say how did he know them, was he completely stalking them in real life? Was he following them around? How long was he planning this out, if that is what he was doing? Because it's kind of what I feel that he was doing. And on that note, let's go ahead and jump into this survey thing that he did. Okay, now the screenshot that I'm putting up here, this is from heavy.com. I'll put the article down below if you want to read the whole thing. Now it says Kohlberger studied psychology at a Pennsylvania community college and researched the emotions and psychological traits of criminals while in grad school. Now this part I find completely unsettling, because this is what so much reminds me of someone like Ted Bundy, that type of thing, who was, obviously Ted was doing the lawyer thing, that kind of a thing. But somebody who is in this realm of that world, studying how this works, that kind of a thing, and then to see what he did makes it all the more shocking. So let's just look at a couple of these survey questions. So to start with, you see what I'm putting up here. It says, my name is Brian. I'm inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime. In particular, this study seems to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience. Now, this is on Reddit, and I believe he posted it some group with ex-cons and that type of thing to get their thoughts and opinions. Now, again, this could be completely normal and, benign. Given the context of everything that we know now, it seems more like he was gathering information on how to create the perfect crime. Please note that the following survey asks you to detail your most recent criminal offense, whether you were caught or not. In the event that you were not charged, convicted, or incarcerated for the offense, you may still participate in this research. Now, the first question we see here, these are questions I would like to ask Brian myself, right? Before making your move, how did you approach the victim or target? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling. This is exactly what we want to know from Brian. How did he target this house? What was he thinking, right? Why did he do this? What was the cause, or was it literally senseless violence? How did you accomplish your goal? Please explain what you were thinking and feeling. Again, we see how he accomplished his goal, but we really don't know what his goal or motive was. But again, all questions I would be curious to ask him. And then he says, before leaving, is there anything else you did? Again, these are going to be things that I think we'll see if it goes to trial. All this type stuff, these questions will be answered because, it almost makes you wonder if this was like a checklist for him when he went and did these crimes. Now, let's just talk about a couple of other little things about him. So yes, he once worked part-time for security for this Pleasant Valley School District in Pennsylvania. Again, pulling this picture up, we see he was very close where he lived, his apartment complex, and actually, the complex and as well as his office that he used for his graduate studies was raided. There's a couple of pictures up. These are via Daily Mail. Now what I want to do is listen to some of the questions that were asked during the press conference and kind of piggyback on those with some of my thoughts and things that I found.
Is our community safe, or is law enforcement still on the search for other suspects who might be involved in this attack?
What I can tell you is we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes, and I do believe our community is safe, but we still need to be vigilant, right? We still have talked about this in the past. We always need to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're aware of what's going on.
Now, I thought this was a good question because obviously it's an obvious question. Are we safe? But also because there's the looming question of, was anybody else involved? Now, Brian Enton of News Nation Now, he posted a tweet, and they were not able to verify any of this information, and I've not been able to as well, but I thought it was interesting. And he's a very reliable resource. I follow him for multiple cases. But the tweet says, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. I'm told when Idaho quadruple homicide suspect Brian Christopher Kohberger was in custody, he asked if anyone else was arrested. I'm told he had a quiet blank stare. Now, if we go on what the officer says, where he's like, we're safe, but we still need to be vigilant, that kind of a thing. And we also look at how things have gone in the past. It's up in the air to me, right? I could totally see him having teamed up with somebody from the survey or something, or there being some other person involved. I think it's interesting that he asked, has anyone else been arrested? I do not think that the cops would say, yes, we're on the lookout for somebody. We obviously know they're holding information in to preserve the case. They did this with Brian, right? They don't want to scare the person off, so they could still be out there looking. And we'll hear the police chief say, we're still gathering lots of evidence. We want anybody who knows Brian, anything about him, to come forward so we can put this story together. So to me, it is up in the air. I would not be shocked if they charged somebody else or reeled somebody else into this situation. But again, I don't know.
Thank you. Dana Griffin with NBC News. Can you confirm that Kohberger asked whether or not anyone else had been arrested when he was in custody?
I cannot confirm that, or I'm not sure of that information, but that would still be a part of our investigation.
So as you see, he's not going to confirm that. And they were very transparent about that at the very beginning of the questioning session of, look, this just happened. Basically, the easiest thing for them to do is say, half these questions we can't answer. I get it, right? We'll get these answers along the way. But again, I thought that was very intriguing, that statement that was allegedly made by him.
Hey, Chief, have you guys found the murder weapon or the Hyundai Elantra?
So we are still looking for all pieces of evidence, but we are still looking for the weapon. And I will say that we have found an Elantra.
So as of now, they are still looking for that weapon and the Elantra, yes. So as we know, they have taken the Elantra. It was at his parents' house. And I'm just going to put a little headline up here from Daily Mail. It says cops are still searching for murder weapon used by Idaho suspect as he's charged with 4 counts of murder. Arrest comes after officers traced white Hyundai to his Pennsylvania address and cross-matched his DNA found at the scene of quadruple slaying. Now let's also look at this quick little snippet here from an article. Authorities narrowed the focus of their investigation to Mr. Kohberger after tracing him as the owner of the Hyundai Elantra, seen near the crime scene, according to CNN. When investigators found that he had left the area, the suspect was tracked for 4 days by an FBI surveillance team from the agency's Philadelphia office, a source told the news network. And he remained under surveillance until officials in Idaho could obtain an arrest warrant, at which point law enforcement moved in and captured him. So again, this just goes in with, the agencies, they know more than they're letting out there. They can't tip somebody off, God forbid, what this guy would have done if he knew that they were on to him, right? Which I'm shocked he didn't know that, but maybe he figured that he would be okay. I don't know. Okay, now, of course, lots of people are coming out that knew him and saying stuff and talking about him. So we're entering speculation, rumor, that kind of a thing. Now, again, these are from sources like his family members, stuff like that. So, but again, I just want to put that warning on it. This is he said, she said zone, right? But I want to talk about a couple of these things because this is the part of true crime that fascinates me, the psychological aspect, looking at that dynamic of it. And so hearing some of the things that people were saying about him, I found that to be intriguing, but just know there's a big warning label on that. Okay, so this first screenshot, his aunt told the New York Post that he was above and beyond being vegan and obsessively forced his family to buy new pots and pans which had not touched meat. Now again, if this is true, if this is really that way, very intriguing. I mean, that is hardcore, right? That's like very obsessive. Now I read from another article that people who went to high school with him said that he was like really aggressive and kind of like a bully. Like apparently he was overweight at one point, and they were like, he was the type of person that would like gaslight your issues to distract away from his own weight issues. So I thought that was interesting too, because it made me wonder, like, did he feel invisible? Did he have an anger towards certain populations? It makes me wonder, like, was he picked on in high school by like, say like the in crowd? Was the in crowd, pretty young blonde girls? And so here you have this crowd, you know what I'm saying? That type thing. Again, this is nothing that I know. This is just me speculating here, okay? Now, the next clip you're going to see me put up is this little article is about a TikToker who knew him very well and put up some TikToks which have been removed. But I just want to talk about a couple of the snippets from there, so let's read through that. So according to her, apparently he had some kind of drug issues during this time, and she says he nonchalantly decided to meet me driving around the Poconos for heroin, and I had no idea. I thought I was doing a nice deed because he needed something else. Casey's brother Thomas described Kohberger as a bully who would happily note his friend's flaws and insecurities in order to distract from his own weight struggle. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. He did that to me all the time, Thomas told the Daily Beast. He would go after my intelligence. He would basically insinuate that I'm kind of slow-witted and that I'm forgetful and that I lack intelligence to be his friend. Thomas finally cut off the friendship after continuous bullying. He noted how his father, a maintenance worker, and mother, a substitute teacher, were genuinely kind people. Now, I also just want to kind of read a couple little snippets from that same article from Law and Crime, which was by Sarah Rumpf. And again, this was in regards to the extradition and that kind of thing and the attorney's statements that were made. So I'm just going to read a couple of these. I'm like actually looking at it from my phone. So this first one, a lot of people are talking to me about the DNA thing, and this is what this says. A law enforcement source told CNN that Kohberger was identified by running unknown DNA evidence found at the crime scene and running it through a public genetic genealogy database to find potential DNA relatives of the suspect. So very interesting. We see this happening more and more these days, right? Now also this is being quoted from an interview with CNN. A lawyer who's working with him on the extradition process said that, or confirmed that Kohberger was arrested at his parents' house in Pennsylvania and was cooperative with police. And that yes, the white Hyundai Elantra was found at his parents' house at the time of arrest. He's being held in a single cell and on 24-hour watch by guards. cards, they got him in that turtle suit, right? 100%. They're not going to let anything happen to him, right? Also, the lawyer did note that his scope of representation was limited to the extradition back to Idaho. The last part I want to talk about was just what he said about the parents. He said that Kohberger's parents were also very shocked, said Labar, who spoke to them for about 15 to 20 minutes Friday evening and was told it had been real shock and awe to have FBI and police at their house at approximately 3 a.m. knocking on the door to arrest their son. So very interesting, right? I was very curious if the parents had turned him in, like kind of piecing things together. Like maybe they saw some behavioral things and were like, the white car, he's acting weird, that kind of a thing. But to me, it also sounds like maybe it's a total just like, oh, okay, this, kind of was like, whoa, whatever. So let's look at a couple of more clips from the press conference.
This is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning.
I wanted to put that in there just as like reassurance of, yes, now we enter this whole new scope of things, right? We're going to get way more information. We can follow this. We can start piecing the puzzle together that led to this absolute tragic loss of life.
And then one final question. Is there any message to the online sleuths who slandered and harassed people who they believed were responsible?
There was a lot of speculation going on, and we've always said from the very beginning that we're the official message that comes out, and to pay attention to what we're putting out there to the press.
So many people have asked me about this dynamic of this, and again, it is what it is. I get a lot of people like to try and figure out who done it, that type thing. I know one lawsuit has actually happened with that TikToker the psychic TikToker who was saying that it was the teacher who did it, and she has filed a slander suit. So, that's why you have to be careful with this stuff.
Your primary source of factual information is going to be the court record, because that's what the Supreme Court says we need to refer you to. So please pay attention to what's going on in court and have people there to watch and hear what's being said. As an attorney, myself and my office, we are limited on what we are allowed by the courts to say outside of the courtroom.
And I just wanted to put that in there as a reminder that now that we're entering this, yes, that's where this information is going to be coming from the courts, that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, we can find through press and whatnot other types of stuff, but as you see, stuff like with the psychic TikTok and stuff like that, come on. That's where the reliable information is going to come from, is what comes to the court and verifiable news resources, right? Now, that being said, so what are some of my overall thoughts on this? I pretty much feel like what has happened here could go one of two ways. I personally feel like we have caught a what do you call it, like a beginning Ted Bundy, someone who was very fascinated by true crime, by the psychology aspect of it. Obviously, he was doing these studies, and maybe tried to plan out the perfect crime. I question if he's done it before. I feel like he has not. A lot of you ask me that if I think that this is the first time he's done this. I feel like this is the first time he's done this. I feel like he's been studying it, he's been planning it, he's been cooking it up, and maybe this is the first thing. It's not going to surprise me for us to find out that he's maybe harmed animals, done this kind of stuff earlier on in his childhood or younger years. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be turning to the parents now and people who truly knew him to be like, what's up? We've heard from other people he could be a bully, he could be this, he could be that. So there's these traits here. It seems like he was somebody who was invisible and held in a lot of anger, right? So we'll see. Thank God for the families. They got this man. My heart goes out to them, and show love down the comment section for the victims and for the families. I am so happy that they can start getting answers and justice. Even though I know it will not bring their loved ones back, at least they can start to put some kind of craziness together in this horrifying puzzle that happened in their lives. Now, I'm going to end that here. Of course, we will be following this. Please continue to email me if you have specific things you want me to talk about or give my opinion on or whatever. And again, please remember, these are just my opinions. This is not based in fact. This is, I ain't no professional. So there's that. Anyways, Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for watching. I will be talking to you all very soon.